Throughout the local election process up until May, Reform was, of course, constantly crowing, and even after they won on some of these areas, they have been constantly crowing about how they're going to make all these savings and going to do it through efficiency. Meanwhile, of course, what have they actually done? Nothing. Because as we keep on saying, as people have kept on telling them, where are we going to find these savings from? You know, a lot of the councils, which they do not seem to understand, bore the brunt of all the Tory austerity. There was nothing left to cut. You have got down to the bone, and there is no more meat to cut from this. They have been told time and time and time again, and now they are in power. And now they are the ones having to make these decisions, but they are still determined to go ahead and make these savings. The thing is, if you make these savings, where do you cut? What services then are affected because of these cuts? That is where they are right now at this moment. And bear in mind, big deadline coming up, December. December is when they have to have a draft budget put forward so that this can then be voted for all the committees and stuff in February. This is what is happening in all of these local councils. And as I said, when it comes to budget time, when they've got to set the budget, that's where we're going to start to see some stuff really start to go wrong. And we're already seeing them struggle in effectively actually trying to make a budget, which should be really worrying for a lot of those people living in those areas, because I know I would be. But we're going to go over to Lancashire today, another Reform council that we haven't talked too much about, but again, they are desperate to try and make savings. They've even been visited by Nigel Farage, of all people, telling them to make savings. Guess what? Their response, it's not easy. Anyway, before we get more into this, please do, of course, remember to click on the like, share, and, of course, the subscribe button down below. And, of course, don't forget to ring the bell as well so you get notifications of when we go live. And, like I say, if you do leave a like and a comment down below, especially if you're using an ad blocker, I know, but it does really help the channel more, given the YouTube changes to the algorithm stuff and all that as well. If you would like to help support the channel in a different way, again, down below, there's the Patreon page, there's the Buy Me Coffee link, there's the YouTube thank you button, there's also the YouTube membership button down below as well. So thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. And let's go crack on then into this, because, oh boy. They've got in, made a lot of crazy stuff on this, but oh boy, they're now finding out. So, when Reform UK took control of Lancashire County Council after winning May's elections, there was a swirl of interest about what the untested party would do with their hands on the reins of power. The early days were, of course, all about settling in, with councillors entirely new to the job collecting lanyards and learning the ropes. Now the party has the run of the authority over a little over 4 months, and is now embarking on the process of setting next year's budget. And there is a blunt assessment from the council leader. It is not easy. What did they think? It was going to be easy. And again, as someone who's been in charge of setting budgets and making a budget myself when I was, JCI UK president, it's not easy. In his office of the Preston Council headquarters, Stephen Atkinson is very upfront about the challenges now the council face. We've had an ever-growing demand and now limited revenue, he said. The government is asking local government to do more and not giving them the resources to do it. Even the Reform's leader, Nigel Farage, visited Lancashire to meet his now newly elected councillors to claim they inherited a very tough position. He said the party's Department of Government Efficiency unit, based on, of course, Elon Musk's drive to cut government risks during the US, would, of course, key in identify the savings, though, of course, he couldn't say how much. The Doge team will be here next week, he told me. Can we, of course, make a difference? Can we give council taxpayers better value for money? Yes. How big a chunk of percentage that will be, I don't know the answer to that, but we're going to try. Yeah. The Doge team so far as I'm aware, they haven't delivered on anything on this. Haven't delivered a single thing, but now that apparently they're going to go over to Lancashire and help out there. We'll see. So, 3 months on, Reform's Doge team is, of course, yet to actually visit Lancashire and has run now into challenges in other councils over accessing sensitive data. The party says the unit's work is now still ongoing, pretending now to recent announcements now from the deputy leader, Richard Trice, about local government pension schemes. In the meantime, Lancashire County Council has set up its own efficiency review with the council, and officers now going line by line through the budget to try and find savings. I mean, what do they do to that? It's crazy that you think, oh yeah, go find efficiencies. They're not going to come back and they will probably come back with something. Bear in mind, I think they'll come back with something, but it's not like the multi-million pounds that they'll be hoping for. So the council currently is now projected overspend of somewhere of about £28 million in this year's finances, with more than £100 million in savings to try and find over the following 2 years. The leader, Stephen Atkinson, said that they had now to focus on innovation, smart working, using digital data to try and look at council procurement. And pressed on, of course, whether or not efficiency alone could meet the scale of the financial challenge, he said, the chief executive is telling me it can. It's not easy, but we will put here to do a job. And I think it is a fresh look at what we are doing and how we are doing things, that where we are going to put our residents' money is actually going to be a key part of that process. It's not. It's going to end up in a disaster. When we get these budgets in December, when we start talking about this into February, into January, and then February, oh boy, are we going to get some insane stuff on this? Like, of course, many of the authorities, one of the big challenges that council has faced is now the growing demand for statutory services. This, of course, has to provide by law, particularly adult social care and children's services, where costs have now spiraled. The council cost is received a very critical Ofsted report about its position for children in special needs education disabilities, dating, of course, back to before reform came to power, and having now to find more money to try and address those concerns. A fleet of now new minibuses ordered by the previous Conservative administration is now, of course, being delivered. It is expected to, of course, save on the cost of home to school transport, but the council says the pressure on budgets is still significant, blaming the lack now in central government resources. But it's so fun of now turning on like the central government, saying, "Oh, you need to give us more." But back in May, these people were openly confident we can find the savings. The council are just wasting your money. They're just absolutely inefficient. Don't worry, the second we get in, we'll sort all this out. It's not going the way that they planned, is it? The government is, of course, due to set out reforms to support children with special needs education disabilities later this year, saying it will try and fix the broken SEND system that we all inherited, so children receive the support they need to achieve and thrive. It says it is now increased in overall funding for councils, of course, this year, including Lancashire. The spokesperson saying we're trying to turn the tide on decades of underfunding councils. The opposition councillors are, of course, very sceptical of reform's ability to actually find savings without impacting services. Azil Ali, the independent councillor and leader of the Progressive Lancashire group, said in some areas they could find some savings and efficiency savings, but I think those will be minuscule. And is going to be an interesting challenge for reform. Are they actually going to invest or save? Or are they just going to slash services? Now reform is empowering local government. It is now encountering many of the same financial challenges its predecessor parties faced. Councillor A.D. Riggott, the leader of the Conservative group, said they went into the election with many of them now promising to freeze council tax for a number of years, saving £5 in every £100 the council spends. They're just widely unrealistic ambitions. So residents who are expecting perhaps better services and more services perhaps are now going to face now that in the other direction. In Lancashire, the council's internal own efficiency review is, of course, due to report back in November. And of course, will shape decisions about how the budget, including whether, of course, council tax goes up. And oh boy, that's going to be interesting to find out when that happens. The leader says that his party will, of course, deliver a balanced budget and try and focus on more efficiency day-to-day savings. At this point, as the process begins in the councils right across, it is a very critical moment for Reform UK. How the party performs in the council now, how it runs, is a very key test for the party that says it wants to run the country. And they're not. Honestly, the way that we've been seeing this, how they've been doing this sheer incompetence, especially when it comes to the budget. There are some councils going to go bankrupt. Leicestershire, it honestly looks like they are going to pull a Liz Truss mini budget style scenario. What happens then there? What happens here in Lancashire? Honestly, it's really worrying that you've now got these people who have no clue but are running on ideology saying, right, we need to slash. But what do you do when there's no more grass to cut? There's no more meat off the bone. They were told about this. They were warned how difficult it will be. And yet, even since they got elected, they've been going, oh, don't worry, efficiency savings. And yet, by the looks of it here, just as in Lancashire, that guy is hoping that efficiency review will at least find something significant enough to pull out a win. And yeah, I do not doubt they will find something to cut. I do not doubt they will, but it is not going to be the massive amounts that they are hoping for. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And if you live in Lancashire, good luck. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Of course, as always, we'll see you all.